Blessed be my witches, my spiritualists, and welcome to another episode of Witch Please. It is I, Odin the Seer, and today we are doing another part of What You Heard. And we're talking about falling from grace. This one is one that is very near and dear to my heart because I found for a long time that people seem to suppose that because I am who I am and because I teach, right, that means that I need to be perfect. Well, a very wise person once said, those who teach must also do. Miss Maya Angelou said that there's many things in this world that she tries to do and she talks about and she teaches, but she messes up all the time. We need to start realizing that in the Bible, I believe also in the Torah and other scriptures, it talks about not making false idols. Okay? A false idol is when you put a person in a place where they are almost godlike, rather than noticing the God within them. Some of the best lessons I've ever learnt in my whole life have come from people who have, for all intents and purposes, would look like people who really don't have it together. And this builds on what we were talking about in our last video in regards to internal and external, right? It gives you a better understanding of the fact that we are all human, and having a human experience is such an important role to play. How many of us would rather go to somebody who suffered from addictions for advice? How many of us would like to know from somebody who's experienced something? For them to experience that, they had to have gone through that. So when people are holding these ideas and making people, fundamentally people who can really help and affect change into something that has fallen from grace. I've been in relationships before where people have seen me as Odin the Seer. But what they never saw me as is a person. So when I lived my day-to-day life and I had my ups and downs and I would lock myself in my bedroom for days I didn't want to deal with anybody and I wanted to work on my internal and get back to me and understand me, this was a problem for them. They didn't know how to take me in that state. Because again, to them I was not human. And then they started to feel like as if I lied to them or I wasn't honest with them. When in actuality, I was very honest. That was an aspect of who I am, right? But not completely who I am. Yes, I am a spiritualist. Yes, I am a teacher, but I'm also a person. And I am traversing this plane of existence and having experiences just like everybody else. If you think that Buddha didn't go through depression, you're wrong. He did. If you think that Jesus didn't have anger issues, you're wrong. He did. You need to understand these things. You need to realize that to have and live in this plane of existence, you need to be challenged. And that goes for the rabbi, the commoner, the imam, the priest, the high priestess, anybody. That is part of the human experience. And what people need to do is realize just because you're experiencing and working through that human experience as a human should be, this does not make you any less competent or capable of guiding the masses. You know, we take a look at all of these different variables. We look at our politicians, we look at this, we look at that, and we expect them to be the epitome of perfection. And then when we realize they're not perfect, we break them down. We don't even give them human kindness anymore because they lied to us. They tried to betray us. How dare they? Really? Did they try to betray you? Or did you create an environment where they couldn't be authentic and couldn't be human? Because if they were, You cannot turn them into a false idol and follow them blindly. You know, one of the reasons why I love the Buddhist faith is because Buddha always said, take all of the information that I'm giving you and challenge it. Figure it out for yourself. He allowed for there to be that human quality. It was not just, I'm perfect. And you hear these things with Jesus in the temple and kicking people out of the temple. Right? He was angry. You hear of this when you hear of the prophets and some of the things that they said and they did. Right? Human. Having a human experience. They didn't want to be God. And frankly, a lot of people, now I'm not saying not everybody, but a lot of people who are on the forefront of spirituality don't want to be seen in that way. We don't. This is one of the reasons why I have such an affinity with Pope Francis. Because Pope Francis is a wonderful guy who will go up to the pulpit and take the sheet and do a magic trick on it. Right? He's human. When he was introduced to the world, he didn't stand there like he was some sort of godlike creature. He was like, hello. People are like, I'm human. They hold this ideal in themselves that I am human. And what they don't seem to understand is that they go to somebody for guidance or whatnot, and they don't give them that same respect of humanity. And what they don't take into consideration is the fact that for someone to be able to evolve in certain areas, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be all areas, it means certain areas. For someone to be able to evolve in that, right, it shows that you can too. It allows you to see that, yeah, you may not be perfect in one area, but you are far more advanced in another area. Do you see what I mean? Do you think that the Pope doesn't have his own issues? Do you think that, the Dalai Lama doesn't have his own issues? And things that he's working on? Well, let's face it, if he didn't, he wouldn't be here. He would have learned everything that he needs to know, and he would have moved on. Guys, take this into consideration. Understand that if somebody is working towards something and they're accumulating knowledge, that knowledge is going to be available to you, accessible to you. And you can grow from that. And frankly, I would rather be guided by an imperfect person that I would like to aspire to be like, where they have made wonderful strides, than to be guided by someone who is infallible, and I will never be able to attain that because I'm human. I remember watching an episode of All in the Family, and Archie Bunker was talking to his next door neighbor's sister who was a nun. And Archie said, I can't follow anything where the person in charge is infallible. Do you really think the Pope is infallible? And the lady said something that was very powerful. She says, when it comes to matters of faith, absolutely. Think about that. She didn't say the Pope was infallible, period. She said the Pope was infallible when it came to matters of faith. She allowed him to have his humanity. She allowed him to have his problems, but yet what he has studied and what he has grown in, he was infallible. You can learn something from everybody, my witches. And just because someone's going through a difficult time does not make them any less capable of teaching you a lesson. Some of the wonderful lessons, most wonderful, powerful lessons I've learned from people were the ones who are literally down and out. You just need to be willing to be able to see the perfection sometimes in imperfection. You need to be willing to acknowledge the fact that for true understanding to happen, experience needs to come with it. Don't make a false idol. Yes, see the divine in everything. Honor the divine in everything. See the potentiality that the divine is utilizing within that being. Now, I'm not saying that you need to be belligerent and you need to push and pull and this and that and the other. Sometimes people will have information that is needed for you to evolve and grow. Okay? But that information is not contingent on how they govern their personal lives. Okay? Remember, human experience, very important. Just because somebody is teaching this one thing and struggling still with that in certain areas, right? They may have some avenues with which may actually help you. May actually be exactly what you need. Or at least allow you to level up. To be able to give you a higher platform to work on. Or work from. I get this all the time from people. Oh, well, how could you, submit to depression or feeling sad or doing this? I mean, you're Odin the seer. Yeah, I am. Point. How the hell do you think I got here? Right? Again, those of us who teach must also do. Everybody is here to have a human experience. And the human experience comes with trial and error. It comes with exploration and gaining knowledge. And knowledge is experienced through action and experiencing certain things. Experience life, my witches, in its entirety. Don't create false idols. That in turn is going to limit the lessons that you can learn from people and experiences. The wise witch knows that the road to their own personal salvation comes from an amalgamation of learnt knowledge via experience by those who they choose to listen and take guidance from. And that is our episode for today. If you have not pressed subscribe, you know you need to press subscribe, join Witch Please family, and do not miss out on a thing. You can follow us on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, as well as Facebook. You can always send me a personal email at witchpleaseofficial or leave a comment below. Don't forget to press that bell icon so you're notified when a new video comes out, because you know you don't want to miss a thing. I said it before, my witches, my spiritualists, and I will say it again. It is a pleasure to have you in my world. It is an honor to have you in my magic. And you are always in my heart. I will see you again on another episode of Witch. Please. I love you, boo-boos. Bye-bye.